Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I want to remind everybody a recording device will be used during this meeting, and we need to make sure we speak into the microphones up here so everybody can hear us out there. They've had to adjust the sensitivity because the recordings are not coming through Christina. She can't hear you. Still can't hear me. Is that better? Sensitive is
Yeah,
way
well, it's going to be a mix because when I'm speaking, it's going
Right, I
to
hear
be
you
quite
loud and
loud.
clear.
Hello.
Did anybody hear me at all out there? Okay. All right. I want to remind everybody a recording device is being used, so make sure you speak into the microphones. Would you all please rise and for the Pledge of Allegiance? Oh, yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment and agenda items. I would like to do a special thing tonight and separate the public comment under item 9A. We'll save that public comment until we get to that on the agenda so that it's relevant to the item. So, and we'll set a time limit of 5 minutes per speaker. Is there any comment on agenda items other than 9A, which would have a limit of 3 minutes? Seeing none, we will move on to item 3, minutes of previous meetings. Anybody have any questions on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the February 2nd Board of Supervisors morning session minutes. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Treasurer's report on authorization to pay bills and approve payrolls. I have reviewed the bills, and I had a couple that I had questions on, which were resolved today, so I have no issues in the bills. Does anybody else have any issues or questions? Can I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report, et cetera?
Make a motion to approve the Treasury report as written and authorization to pay bills.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Township reports, item 5, Township Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'd like to draw your attention to a change in the budget performance/general fund report in the treasurer's report you considered just moments ago. For the first time in 2023, Township staff have broken the annual budget figures approved by the Board of Supervisors in December into monthly estimates. Many significant revenue line items and expense line items occur irregularly. In light of this, and in order to make the percentage of the annual budget allocated figures meaningful to the board and to management, it was necessary to perform this exercise. Going forward on this report, the first 3 columns of this report will represent the most recent whole month, the month just completed. The second 3 columns will represent a year-to-date, and the 7th column will reflect the annual budget authorized by the board at your December meeting. My thanks to Chairman Croft and to the Budget Committee for identifying this need for more meaningful reporting, and to Township Treasurer Lisa Velitis for developing a month-by-month breakdown of the annual budget allocation. Second, as you may recall, in the morning of Wednesday, December 28th, a section of fire suppression system piping located in the attic immediately above my office froze and burst open. The subsequent flooding caused significant damage to most of the township administration side of this building. In the past month, progress has been made to restore the building. These improvements have included water removal, drywall repair, drop ceiling repair, HVAC and electrical system restoration, painting, and the wallpaper work you can see in this room. The remaining projects include new carpet and replacement furniture. I anticipate staff may be moving into their old offices by mid-March. As a fiscal note, and as it relates to financial liquidity, to date, the township has received $156,292.96 from our insurance based on vendor estimates of the work to be performed. Also to date, we have been billed for just $5,427.13 by these same vendors. Staff have created a one-time expense and a one-time revenue line items for ease of tracking. The claim remains open, and it may be necessary to reconcile the actual amount paid as more restoration vendors bill us for their services. I want to extend my thanks to Roadmaster Matthew Van Loo for his leadership in coordinating the many elements of this extensive restoration project. As is typical for this time of year, annual reports to the Chester County Solid Waste Authority are due on February 28th. Trends for services contracted to A.J. Blazinski, our waste hauler, are depicted below. In 2022, 963 tons of material were diverted from the landfill by our curbside recycle service, and a further 123 tons were diverted at our recycle drop-off location located at this building. During the 6th annual curbside yard waste collections, 21 tons were collected. My best hypothesis for the spike first observed in 2020 and now observed to be trailing off is that the 2020 figures were COVID-19 related consumer choices such as online shopping and a whole lot of takeout. My thanks to all participating residents for making the recycle program in East Brandywine Township a success. East Brandywine Township is pleased to support the countywide household hazardous waste collection events hosted at the Solid Waste Authority. 4 dates for 2023 events have been announced and added to the township's website calendar. They are April 22nd, June 23rd, August 26th, and October 7th. Pre-registration is required for all dates, and more information on how to register and the materials that will be accepted is available at chestercountyswa.org. Upcoming events before future meetings of the Board of Supervisors include Easter egg hunt, which will be held at the Community Park on March 26th at 1 p.m., and the Historical Commission's speaker series featuring Caring for Historic Brick and Stone will be held in this room on the same date, but at a different time, March 26th at 3 p.m. Respectfully submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Building inspector's report.
Shall I read that into the record as well?
Yeah, okay, no. It is self-explanatory.
Is what it
Very
is.
little activity.
Yeah.
And next is the Township Roadmaster's report. You want to hit the bottom 2 highlights? First one covered, you've already covered the sprinkler damage.
All right. I'm a little,
Road department projects.
I'm not as good at reading stuff I didn't write. Let me start with road department projects. Township Roadmaster writes, due to a lack of snow that usually keeps the road department busy this time of year, we've been able to catch up on some other projects. One of the projects is the inspection and repairs to the stormwater system. The department is making repairs to inlets at various locations. Other projects include tree removal and trimming, truck maintenance, and building maintenance. The second point the chairman asked me to hit on here is on Hawthorne Drive, I met with representatives of PECO and their contractor Hinkles and McCoy to discuss the replacement of underground electric in the Culbertson Run development. PECO will notify the resident prior to starting work. So I believe we have some programmed utility work in the Culbertson Run neighborhood.
Thank you. And next would be the police department report.
Good evening. This past month, I received some saddening news that Detective Corporal Dan Orris was offered a position by the Chester County District Attorney's Office to become a Chester County detective. After much discussion and consideration, Dan has decided to accept that position. Dan completed 14 years with the East Brandywine Township Police Department and was considered by many to be one of the best police detectives in the county. Dan's expertise and knowledge was unmatched, and it has come as no surprise to us that this opportunity opened up for him. The department is proud of the work Dan has done during his career, and we are honored to have one of our own at the county level of law enforcement to assist us with investigations. We want to thank Dan for his years of service to East Brandywine Township and its residents, and we wish him the best of luck. His last day in the office is going to be next Thursday, February 23rd. With Dan's departure, Officer Kyle Harnish has been selected as the police department's second detective to work alongside of Detective Bo Shepherd. Total monthly events for East Brandywine Township for January were 2,431. We completed 180 investigations. We had 4 criminal arrests, 5 summary arrests, 1 warrant arrest. There were 5 traffic accidents investigated. Officers issued 153 traffic citations, 89 traffic warnings, and 10,818 miles of patrol were logged by the officers. Training completed. Officer Ray attended a tactical communications and de-escalation course, and the entire police department completed its biannual CPR and first aid recertifications. There were no correspondence this month, and attached are the monthly investigations and the officer activity reports.
Thank you. Fire company?
So for the East Brandywine Fire Company monthly report, January 2023, there was 7 fire calls, 13 medical calls, 183.4 gallons of fuel used. Total trainings this period, there was 5, and an average personnel was 30 members.
All right, thank you. Next is the approval of the Planning Commission minutes for December 7th and January 4th. Anybody have any questions on the minutes, any changes?
Make a motion that we approve the Planning Commission minutes for December 7th and January 4th, 2023.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
I'll make a motion to accept the Township Manager's Report, the Building Inspector's Report, Township Roadmaster's Report, East Brandywine Township Police Department, and the Fire Company's Report.
Oh, I have to do them all, huh? Thank you. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excuse me, I'm trying to catch up with the paperwork. Okay, item 6, old business. There is no old business. Item 7 is new business. Approval of purchase of wood milling machine for Bondsville Mill.
Good evening, everybody. In front of you, you should have a set of bids that Rocky was obtained for a list of wood milling machines for the work at the park. The Bondsville Mill Park Committee approved the purchase of a recommendation for the purchase of these machines. It will greatly facilitate the work that needs to be done at the park, mainly focusing this year on closing up the outside of building C and A. And it will relieve the pressure on the time that Rocky and his son Roger has provided from his business. Up to date, all of
That was what I was trying to prevent, sorry.
the milling work for the work at the park has been donated by Rocky and Roger's business. But it became apparent at the beginning of this year that they can no longer give the time for that milling work. So in the interest of continuing to move the project forward efficiently, it was suggested that we purchase these wood milling machines. They would be located in the basement of Building C, where they'll set up a shop. Having the machines there will expedite some of the work and allow them to focus on certain things, reduce the amount of time that we need to rent the lift to do the exterior work. There's a lot of positives to doing that. The cost of the machines would come out of our budget for this year, out of the capital fund budget for this year. So it's not a new expense to the township, but it is a consideration for you to approve it. And then finally, the tools are fairly high-end tools. They're obviously owned by the township. Once we're finished with the work, should the township desire, they could resell the machines and make a substantial amount back. So we'd, in essence, be kind of looking at this as an equipment rental at a relatively low price. And it would, by having the machines there, it would reduce the rental for the lift, which was estimated at $36,000 for the year. Additionally, to offset the cost of the machines, Rocky and his son Roger will be making a substantial donation of raw wood material to the park as well. I'll add one final comment, and that is that the wood that, the raw wood that the township has been purchasing to support the building rehabilitation work at the park has been obtained at cost by Rocky's business. So we've gotten a very good price on the lumber to begin with. We will be making a substantial donation of wood lumber in addition. The cost of the machines will be offset by the resale value once the work is done. And the use of the machines will allow us to abbreviate the work where the lift is required and reduce the cost, the lift cost. So I put it out to you for any questions you may have.
In looking at the list of machines, which includes a dust collector, a shaper, a bandsaw, a mortiser, a table saw, a lathe, a feeder, and a drill press, I'm just confused as to how these help towards the finishing of the exterior work on the building, which is the goal for this year, 2023.
Well, there's work to be done on the stair tower roof, tying that into the roof. There's cornice work around the building. There's the siding for building A and for building C on the north side and on the west side of building C. And there's, I think, how many windows? 9?
You mentioned windows to me. How many windows do you?
I'll tell you in a second here. 7 or 8 more windows. 7 or 8 more windows. 20. We have all windows in the front. The stair tower is 3, 6, 9. The stair tower alone is going to be 9. Yeah, the stair tower alone is going to be 9, right? Okay. So closer to 20.
Well, I think it's important to the township and the supervisors that everything be concentrated on exterior work. I'm curious, if you have that many windows, why wouldn't you find a carpentry shop that you could sub that out to that already has the equipment?
Cost. We would be doing it at free if we subbed it out to it.
No, you're not doing it for free because you need $15,000 worth of equipment, and I assume this doesn't include the freight to get it here. You're going to have to build a workshop. You're going to have to wire that workshop. You're going to need to insure it, and I don't even know whether you can insure it. As a supervisor, I don't want to take that risk of having machinery that is owned by the township and theoretically anybody can use. God forbid there's an accident, we would be sued.
Well, let me ask you this, if we could develop a list of trained operators, I know that Rocky has several that he's worked with at his mill, that he feels very comfortable in their abilities.
And I absolutely appreciate that, but that's not, the point is, should the township be in the wood shop business? That's really what the point is, and I don't know, I'm not ready to commit to that, to be honest with you, because I don't know all the total costs. I mean, I'm not sure what you need a lathe for to finish the exterior. I mean, I imagine it's for balusters and stuff.
Yeah, why don't you come up, Rocky, and Rocky can give you some information on the detailed work that is needed for the construction. Hi, glad you guys are all listening. I do have 50 years of experience, had up to 25, 30 employees at one time, done literally millions of dollars worth of mill work over the years. And I understand the risk and the concern of operating that equipment safely. Never had an accident, never even had a minor accident in all those years with all those employees because of thorough training and thorough safety stuff that we do. And I will take anybody that's going to touch any of those machines through that course and understand thoroughly that they can operate it safely. Secondly, all the safety equipment, the reason we're buying new equipment and not used equipment is because all the safety stuff's there. It won't be modified. You see a feeder on there on your list?
Yes.
That would be mounted on the table saw and on the joiner, which I donated the joiner.
I was going to say there's not a joiner. I was curious why there wasn't a joiner.
Yeah, well,
That's
because
a
I donated.
key piece of equipment.
Donated a heavy-duty joiner. It's down there. Whether we use it or not, it'll be up to you guys. But the feeder will be mounted on those machines. They will not be operated without the feeder. And the feeder's a 3-roll feeder, and you position that onto the material, you can't get your hands anywhere near the blade. It's the safest way that you can do it. I guess theoretically somebody could put their hand on top of the board and feed it through with the feeder, but that has never happened yet, and that would be ludicrous speed, I call it. So the reason we have the different machines, I go each one of them with you. The dust collection obviously is a 2.5 micron dust filter, and that's for safety reasons right there. We could go with less, save money and get more CFM, but I don't want to do that. I want the dust to be safe. The shaper is a 5 horsepower shaper. What that does is it tongues, grooves, shiplaps, profiles, does those things in lineal. We have the shop set up down there, or designed to handle 6.
Is a shiplap for interior or exterior
All
work?
for exterior I'm talking about. Okay, so
And we can't buy that?
you can buy it, but you'll pay so much money for it, it'll be way over what the machines are. And I know because I just took 20,000 lineal feet of moldings out today to a job. I know exactly what they cost. And we're donating the lumber. And we have been donating the machinery, all the millwork at a facility up in Elverson. However, I'm 75 years old, and we're so busy I can only work on Sundays. And that's starting to push me a little bit because I work in the business all week long, and then to give my Sunday up to do the mill work for the mill to keep up with everything down there, it's just too much. I can't keep up. We have a really good crew now. You know, we've got a guy with 40 years carpenter experience. We've got another guy that built a nuclear facility. We've got another guy that's been in a shop his entire life. These guys know what they're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the results down there.
No, you know, we're not questioning any of that. We're not
Okay.
questioning your skill. You just brought, one of my main concerns is you don't have enough time. I still don't know why no one has said you've already done this. Go out and check. There's more than a dozen shops in Lancaster County alone that are close to here that
Absolutely.
can do that work, even on, and they wouldn't mind using your donated wood. The budget committee and the
I'm
township
not going to donate
supervisors.
my wood. I can tell you that right now. It's just not.
Well, you
gonna
just
do
said
it.
you were donating your wood.
I'm going to donate it down to the mill there. I have to surface it and straight line rip it. And then I'll take it down to the mill.
I've done that. I've used my own lumber. I've easily gone to these mills, and it was like pennies per board foot for them to mill it.
I don't have time to run there. I don't have time to I know the bidding process here is tedious. I've done it a bunch of times. And to go do that, and how we're gonna deliver it there, you're gonna use my truck to take it there, you're gonna use their truck. It's tough, because if you're doing.
We can use the township truck if we have to.
So let's say the siding on building A, okay, let's just take a simple thing. There's verge boards that go up and down, they have to be trimmed, okay? That has to be thick enough to get the kill for the siding so the water doesn't get in there. The starts wide at the bottom, gets narrow at the top to give it some height, to give it some architectural consistency with what's down there now. So you will reduce that spec considerably by subbing that out. You'll have to provide drawings, you'll have to provide specs, you'll have to get the linear footage, you'll have to get everything right for that in order to do it. If we have a facility there, we're running it, we can be very efficient, okay? We're up to this height now, switch to this width, okay? We'll run this height, go to that width. All the profiling that you see on building A, on the fascia and the soffit, was done at our mill. The beads, the offsets, the crown moldings, all that stuff was done there. That's on the exterior. That's why the shaper's there, is to do that work. If you want to go to Lancaster County, to Lloyd, or to Larn, or to all these guys that I've worked with over the years, I even do mill work for them, so I know exactly what they're doing. It's very difficult to go get 2 pieces of crown molding 15 foot 3 inches long. So what are you going to do? You're going to get a couple of 16-footers, you're going to get 4 8-footers, whatever it works out. And then you're going to come back. Now, I could do like I do for a lot of contractors, and that is do all the AutoCAD drawings for the whole building, provide the spec sheet, provide all the cross sections and profiles, and take that out and get a bid on it. But we know that we're already very competitive in that angle, and probably doing it for a lot less. That's why we're so busy. We're extremely efficient at it. Here's an example. I dropped off, I forget, don't hold me to the footage, but about 300 square foot of Aframasia siding. That exact same footage we sold on a job down in Philadelphia, Locust Street, for $10,000. I billed the township $1,200 for it. And that's the kind of thing, we accumulate the mahoganies. That's what we work with. What used to be Thompson mahogany down in Philadelphia, now they're up in Fair Hills. We buy a tractor trailer load of the mahoganies every single time. We run those through jobs. We are going to accumulate drop in that material. That's what I'm passing to the township. So that's where the Aframasia came from. That's called drop. It was a 20, probably, I don't want to exaggerate, so I have to think it through, probably about 8,000 board feet of that we bought. That's the best wood for siding that you can get. It's African teak. That's what you're getting on your building. I'm trying to do 100-year construction down there. So I'm not going to go to Larn or Lloyd or pick any of the guys out there. They're going to pay more than I pay for the lumber. So how are they going to be competitive? How's that going to work? I don't understand how that would work. We very rarely contract by the hour milling services. I think the Bondsville Mill Park is the only time that in our business we have done things by the hour or whatever. We always quote this stuff. So the I don't know, you'd have to give me an example and I could fire off the quote instantaneously.
That's all right. Well, I understand the points you're trying to make, and I'm going to let the other supervisors ask their question.
Yeah, first and foremost, obviously the amount of time and energy you guys put down there is second to none. I mean, it's that alone would save the township $100,000.
Oh, a lot more than that.
I'm just, in my tenure.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I mean,
here,
we're doing building C for 83,000. and
here would be
that
my
includes the
biggest
rental
concerns.
equipment.
My biggest concerns would be, my first one would be OSHA, my second one would be the insurance company, and if they would even allow it. Okay, take those two hurdles out of the equation. The third one would be, I just picking and choosing from all the categories, you had 3 categories here, and you had line items. I was able to even drop in another $1,000 by just going with one item from every company.
Yep,
Versus,
you're absolutely right, and I was gonna do that, but Grizzly gives us a discount on the package.
yep,
So if I line item one out of there, it's gone. So then,
I'll just
It's
finish
not
a couple
fine. Yeah,
points.
go
and then
ahead.
We'll
Yep.
figure this out. Co-stars, have you guys gone to co-stars as well? Can we go through co-stars or something like this?
If they have the equipment, there's somebody that sells on coast.
no, we haven't looked at those stars.
So I just want to throw that out there. That was my third point. My fourth one is the most important one, because I've done construction for 25 years of my life. I know when you leave your equipment outside, especially saws, in the heat and humidity, they're going to rust.
Right.
We don't have any ventilation down in that building, and it wouldn't even be the first summer. You're going to have the condensation getting on the metal, and it's going to corrode. So it's not going to be unusable, but it will be a problem.
Okay, I've addressed that, but yes, that is definitely was a concern.
Yep.
We have heat down there, and we run that temperature so that there's an inversion, like it's gonna go to 60 degrees, and we've had the heat cut down to 45. We'll run that up to 60 degrees ahead of time so we don't get an inversion, don't get condensation on the metal.
That
The second
would be
thing,
my biggest 4 points.
yeah,
I think that they're
the
all
second
aligned.
thing is I spray the machines down in all our facilities because we have the exact same issue. We don't have it air conditioned in here because as soon as you turn the dust collection on, it's gone. So same thing with the heat. So we have a lubricant that we spray the machines down with, and we don't have issues. We have 3 mills going right now, and we don't have issues.
And then my last point would be, if we're even something which I love to talk to the insurance company. I honestly think the insurance company's gonna be the biggest hurdle. But there has to be a safety protocol that, only one person has the key, and it has to be, because what you're gonna end up having is my son's project is due tomorrow at school for wood shop, and all of a sudden Jimmy goes down there with his mom and cuts his finger off.
There's no public access to it at all. It's only volunteer staff. And the initial training sessions are limited to 4 people. I have a lockout on all the disconnects, and I have a lockout on the machines. And that's very important to have that. You have to have 2 keys to get to the machine.
Carl, you mentioned electric. There's electric service in the building now. Thank you.
We should bring a 100 amp panel down there, and
Well, you're gonna need a panel, you're gonna need a lot of amps to run this equipment.
well, to not cut you off, we certainly have looked at that. The highest run load is about 11 amps FLA.
I have about 4 of these things,
Yeah.
Grizzlies, and
Yeah, I mean,
they take
we're
about
putting it on a
13
30.
amps
We're putting
each.
it on a 30 amp breaker, and you would think that means 30 amps. That might be the start load if you have the blade jammed, and that's locked rotor, 30 amps. So, but the run amps are around 11, something like that on the 5 horsepower shaper. Now, if I dive into 16 quarter and I'm making a big, huge rabbit cut, it's going to climb. You're absolutely right.
Jason?
Yeah, we have total adequate power. We want to, the second floor, okay, which is interior, so we're not focused on it, but we're certainly going to be brain smart about it. We're going to locate a panel in the basement there that feeds the second floor and reduces the amount of wiring and MC cable and so on that will have to get run up there. So that was a sub panel, which is going to go in anyway, but it would really help the shop facility because it reduces all our runs. The drops are in MC cable and they go into steel pipe the remainder of the distance. So if somebody swings a board or something like that, we don't get that crushed MC cable routine going. Been there on that.
Well, we would expect everything would be
Yep.
inspected by our code inspector.
Yep, I will definitely have Matt Van Loo come down there. And as far as the OSHA comes, Matt Spellman, Matt Van Loo's.
All right, Jason has some questions.
The other thing to address the concern with OSHA, I'd welcome an OSHA inspection. I really would. That would be fine. They probably
probably won't come out. I tried to do that before, and they just looked at me like I'm nuts, but, yeah, that's true. We would welcome that.
I mean, I think it's a good idea for you guys to try to come up with ideas to cut costs, but I think that the big difference that everyone's forgetting is even you're a volunteer though, you are the public. And I think it's a big difference because you're not staff. I don't think you're gonna be able to get insured for it. And
There's not gonna be birdhouses down there, or kids' school projects, or anything like that.
I know, but I just
going
think
on.
I don't think.
But you may not be able to exclude those.
Well,
Township equipment.
then I guess I have to.
Well, I don't know, but that's not the main issue.
Let me
Jason's
ask you
point on
this.
insurance is the main.
I just don't see us getting coverage for it.
We have
I think we should
volunteers
start there.
doing work at the park now, heavy lifting, construction, using power tools. There's liability there. We've had table saws down there and joiners for years.
You know, we never
I don't wanna say
expected,
that.
we never expected a pipe in a dry sprinkler line to burst, because there
Yep.
should be no water in it,
Yeah.
too, so.
I would just simply say, start with the co-stars, and on our end, I think it's a simple ask that Luke can reach out to the insurance company and find out what their requirements would be.
I did try to find co-stars and had absolutely no luck, and I used to work for machinery companies, so I'm not the best guy in the world, but
Because I know that the
Hermance,
school system
RT,
probably buys
all
their
these
workshop
guys.
equipment from co-stars because
They do, and they buy the safe saws or the stop saws, whatever they're called for.
Grizzly.
I have, listen, I have another concern too. I do think you need to do a lot more homework on this, but I'm concerned that during the budget process, this was never part of your budget.
Well, I can
It
address that.
wasn't even, I mean, it wasn't even a hint of it.
Right.
And we're into February, and now we're looking to change your priorities on the budget, when our priorities, we don't want you to change.
Well, it's gonna reduce the
this
cost of
helps
building
the
A.
Well, we don't know that,
Yeah,
we don't
well-
really know that.
What information would you like to see that would
I just
show
want to
that?
see, if you need X board foot of shiplap milled, what's the cost to mill it with a subcontractor? So we don't have to buy a shaper. Things like that, or the window, or even the windows. No, but Anderson has about 8 different grades, and you can get, but I know you want wood. I'm not saying not to, but other people can make 100-year windows.
Yeah, we do that all the time, and the window that we're making now is about, well, we haven't made any this year. Last year, they're probably about $2,200, $2,300 a piece. And you need 20 of them, so you can do some math real quick if you got that level of window there. So what you'll do is you'll make a compromise, because obviously that would throw us completely out of the budget. That's why the mortise machines are.
That's why I think we need to see more information from you. We need 20 windows, we can make them for X dollars, it would cost X dollars to have A, B, C.
The only amount of money you'll pay for those windows is the glass, period. Because we donate the whole show. Yeah.
Right, so you're looking at
Oh, and caulk,
the
yeah.
$15,000 investment that you're gonna be making back probably
I'm sorry, I still have concerns. I mean, Rocky even said, you know, he only has Sundays and stuff. I mean, what if it's not done or used to its fullest? That's why I think the subcontracting actually helps you achieve your goals quicker, even if it costs a little more, without the township assuming any liability
So
over
how
using
would,
that equipment.
let's
But
take
I don't know that, and you don't know that.
If you just take the windows, we know there's 20 windows, and we know there's a 16-quarter frame, and we know there's a 1 3/4 inch sash thickness, and we know they're 9/6s, most of them. Some are 6/6s, some are 3/3s.
Are they double hung or?
They're double hungs.
Double, yeah, 9/6.
In other words, they're consistent architecturally with what's on the front of the building right now. Those exact same windows. We built all those windows on the job site. What we didn't do was mill all the parts. So I had to mill all the parts. I had to do all the coping and sticking and doing all that kind of
I'm
stuff.
trying to save you from doing that.
What? Yeah, and this saves me from doing that, absolutely, and it's faster.
Who's gonna operate the machinery?
At a cost, right here. There's one of them right there, and the other three aren't here tonight. I'm gonna run the machinery. I'm down there every Saturday for 4 hours, every Monday for 4 hours, a lot of times Wednesdays, a lot of times Fridays. It's a pleasure for me to work with these guys, but I don't have to wait till Sunday to do it. I get my Sunday off.
Can I speak to the budget issue real quick?
Sure. I don't want to take too much time.
When we were doing the budget, we had a total request in for a little over $200,000.
Correct.
And we went through it, and we lopped a lot of things out of there. And primarily what came out of that was the money that we had in there for the stage, which was a high price. And all of the trails, infrastructure, gardens, all those costs came out. And you boiled it down to about $100,000 for the capital fund and several $1,000s for the general fund. The cost, the construction cost, was $83,000 in that budget. And the estimate for the rental for the skylift was $36,000 to do the exterior work. So what you gave us with and what we are focusing on and what the Bonneville Mill Committee has agreed to do is to focus our capital fund solely on the construction work. And we understand your desire to close up the outside of the buildings. We've reprioritized. Building A was originally not in the schedule for this year. If you look at the summary, it's been pulled back into this year so we can get that exterior work done. So our budget is pretty close to what we requested for the construction work. And then you add into the time savings logistically, we'll be able to reduce the cost of the lift rental, which will be a significant savings in itself. And as I mentioned, you're going to be earning money back on this equipment at the end of the road. So those are all considerations. That doesn't address the insurance
Yeah, I think that's your biggest
concern.
hurdle, quite honestly.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
insurance I did not address.
Do you have any other?
No, I think
have
we
any
should
other
give
questions?
Luke an opportunity to reach out to the insurance company.
I'm not willing to make a motion at this time as anybody until we get more information.
I think give Luke some time to do some homework and find out. The other thing is go through CoStar, at least try that room.
so let me ask you, are you okay with this, with the exception of looking further into the co-stars and understanding the insurance?
No, I'm not
issues?
okay with the whole thing yet,
Okay.
So
but I'm just one
yeah,
vote.
and I look at it as I heard Rocky say. I mean, I look at it as, and I know this for a fact. I mean, the minimum, even your cheapest, let's just say what American Craftsman window was going to be probably for a vinyl, for that size.
You need a wood.
Yeah, right. But I'm just throwing it in your favor. Your minimum $300-400 for the cheapest window you can even find at Home Depot, and we need 20 windows. I mean, even if doing it at that math, we're right, right where we need to be with wood windows, and obviously they're being built.
We're doing a lot more.
Right. So I like that. Honestly, the only thing concerns me is not going through CoStars, and as I told you, the insurance issue and the personnel issue who's using it, and then the fourth is sitting in the elevator.
If we can,
Real quick, one other question I had is timeline. Do you think this is something that this equipment's going to be down there for a year, 2 years, 5 years? Just ballpark thinking out loud.
Depends how many buildings you want to do. If we keep donating the material, which we are optimistic that we can do that, and if we have this machinery, which is being tabled for right now, we would be able to continue all the way through all the buildings, and it wouldn't be hardly any cost to the township at all.
And I appreciate
So-
the donation as well. And I
Oh,
understand,
absolutely.
I understand the lack of interest in donating if it's getting subbed to somebody else.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'll sell it. I've got tons of people who will buy it. That's
Appreciate
it.
the offer to the township. That's important.
I mean, all we do is just call around to the Amish shops and they come up and they buy it and away it goes. So,
I think one of an overall concern is, and you just touched upon it, Rocky, is we all appreciate all the stuff that's been done down
And
there,
we wanna
especially by
continue.
I mean, really do. But there's no end plan, there's no strategic plan as to where you want to be it. No, there's no plan. We tried to do it and it didn't work. So these things coming out, to use a cliche, out of left field is kind of concerning to us, because I know the three of us, I believe, want to get the buildings winterized as soon as possible. If this helps us, you got to show us. You got to put together a spreadsheet. Give us something that we can look at and say, okay, this is a good deal after all, if we can get it insured, that type of thing. We don't have enough information to just approve a purchase tonight.
Well, monetarily, it is going to be a savings. I mean,
Everybody says that, but nobody knows for sure.
well, Kyle just went through the window scenario.
Just one window.
And that is looking at just the windows.
The
not
code-
considering
But
the
if it gets
other windows.
if it gets the exterior closed in quicker because you buy them and somebody else does it while you work on
You wouldn't
the
be able to
siding
afford
and
it.
stuff.
All
you're-
due respect, you would not be able to afford, with the budget that we have this year, those windows bought out. I mean, at that spec. You could get vinyl windows in there, but what are you gonna look at? And they've gotta be structural. They gotta carry the stone. It's not like you can stick a vinyl window in there. You're gonna have to put steel in there. You're gonna have to put some kind of frame in there to carry the.
No one has suggested vinyl windows.
So,
I'm sorry, Jason might.
I mean, we said, we buy Marvin windows. They have the true divided light windows, and they have the insulated glass with the mullions inside the glass to make it look like it's true divided light. And we put those in big, heavy frames. That's far exceeds what we would build the windows
But
for.
if you're
we
being
have to-
exact, I would assume you have single pane glass. You're not
Yeah.
gonna have.
Yeah, we're doing laminated plate glass, and the plastic that's in the lamination has an R value that's real close to 3/8 vacuum glass. So
All right, well, I don't hear
we're,
anybody.
we're up against code people down in Philadelphia. Believe me, they test stuff and look
All
at
right,
stuff.
I
till
don't
you
hear
turn purple.
anybody making a motion, so we're not saying no, we're tabling it in reality.
Can I ask you where you are on this, Jason?
Pardon me?
Can I ask Jason where he is on this? Is he with Kyle as far as his primary concerns being insurance and checking out spare parts?
I have to pretty much look at the insurance first I think is the first thing, get our policy and,
First hurdle. Yeah.
and check, and then come back, even with a couple quotes from, other mills.
I'm concerned about security too, as much as insurance.
Well, the buildings are secure.
Two people can handle almost any piece here, and with a hand truck and stuff. I've put a grizzly saw in with myself and one other person into my basement.
The buildings are
Table
locked.
saw.
Buildings are locked. There's
It's in
security
parts.
cameras.
It comes apart. Comes apart. Come on.
We do have security. We have security cameras. The buildings are locked.
I know, but
Okay.
all right. Thank you.
So we'll come back next.
I think you need to. I think you need, while we check on insurance and some other
Right.
things,
I just don't, I need to understand what our
you need to
action
help us
items are.
show us how this is going to speed things up and help your budget.
Okay,
Right now, everything's just verbal.
well, okay. Okay,
I'll be happy to sit down with you and help you
all right.
figure it out if you want.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Item 8, subdivision and zoning applications. Under ordinance and resolutions for consideration A, we'll open that up to public comment, and the public comment is, I'll extend the 3 minutes to 5 minutes.
I think I'll just go ahead and announce right now.
Okay, yes.
Well, let me just introduce it, and then you can do that, so people know what we're doing. This is a hearing on proposed ordinance number 1 of 2023, The title of the ordinance is an ordinance repealing the 2011 official map of East Brandywine Township, adopting the 2022 official map of East Brandywine Township, and amending Chapter 329 of the Code of the Township of East Brandywine, titled Official Map. This hearing is required by Article 4, Section 402B of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, which requires that the Board of Supervisors conduct a public hearing pursuant to public notice before voting on the enactment of an official map ordinance or an official map. The purpose of the hearing is to inform the public about the proposed ordinance and official map and provide an opportunity for public comment prior to the board taking action on the proposed ordinance and the proposed official map. The hearing has been advertised in accordance with the Municipalities Planning Code. Article 4 of the MPC authorizes the board to make an official map of the township. The official map may show appropriate elements of the township comprehensive plan with regard to public lands and facilities, including existing and proposed public streets, existing and proposed public parks and open space, and pedestrian ways and easements. The proposed official map and the Chapter 329 amendment were submitted to the Township Planning Commission, the Chester County Planning Commission, and adjacent municipalities for comment. The Township Planning Commission endorsed the new official map and the Chapter 329 amendment. The Chester County Planning Commission issued a review letter dated December 9th, 2022, commending the township for its efforts in preparing the official map. The township received no comments from adjacent municipalities. Township Manager Luke Revin has some additional background information about the proposed official map and ordinance and the process that brings us to this hearing this evening. When Mr. Revin completes his statement, the board will accept public comment. Anyone making public comment should come to the podium, identify themselves by name and address, and direct comments to the board chair. As a reminder, as mentioned by the board chair at the outset of the meeting, each individual is limited to 5 minutes for public comment to be directed by the board as to the board chair. We also received 2 letters from representatives of property owners of the township. We received a letter from Mr. Paul Prince Esquire, who is here this evening, representing Brandywine Village Associates and L&R Partnership. That letter is dated February 7th, 2023, and we will make that letter part of the minutes of this hearing, actually of the public meeting and hearing. We also received a letter the township did from 3 Creeks LLC, dated February 15th, 2023. That LLC represents itself as the equitable owner of 2069 Bondsville Road, UPI number 30-5-128. We will also make that letter part of the minutes. I understand that one of the supervisors has family members, who are associated with 3 Creeks LLC. That's Mr. Jason Winters, Supervisor Winters, and he intends and will recuse himself from any consideration of this ordinance for that reason. He has prepared a memorandum to file with the Township Secretary regarding that recusal. He did not bring that memorandum with him tonight, but he will deliver it to the Township Secretary, and it will be made part of the minutes. I'm sorry, Jason, if you want to say something else about that.
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we'll turn it over to Mr. Revin, if that's okay with the board.
Yes.
Thank you. Got to do a little bit of shopkeeping over here as relates to the video. All right, before you this evening is a draft official map for your consideration. Numerous volunteers, consultants, and staff members and residents contributed to this final product. I'd like to take a moment to summarize how we got to this point from an administrative perspective. A comprehensive plan is a document that states basic objectives and policies that guide future growth and development. It can assist municipal leaders in their decision-making. It is a factual report that examines how the past led to the present and it reports in detail how to chart the community's path into the future. An official map is a declaration by the governing body of the projected areas of a community where needs for public purposes, let me start that again, I've butchered the sentence. An official map is a declaration by the governing body of the projected area of community needs for public purposes sometime in the future. Both tools are described in the legislation that enables municipalities to engage in land use planning and zoning, known as the Municipalities Planning Code, or the MPC. As an administrator, these two records are vital for communicating the township's vision for the future with stakeholders whom I frequently interact with. The prior comprehensive plan was adopted in 2009. The prior official map was adopted in 2011. It's best practice that these planning tools be regularly updated. Every 10 years is typical. On September 17, 2020, this board authorized staff to apply for a Chester County Vision Partnership Program grant to update our official map and comprehensive plan. This application was successful, and on June 23, 2021, a fully executed grant contract for $40,000, equivalent to about 57% of the total estimated project costs, was received by staff. This contract requires the township to establish a steering committee to guide the development of an official map and comprehensive plan. The township elected to have the volunteers of the Ordinance Task Force make up the membership of this grant-mandated steering committee. After an RFP process, Thomas Committa Associates and the Brandywine Conservancy were selected as the design consultants. In the summer of 2021, TCA began a series of stakeholder interviews, and surveys were mailed to all households in the township. Some 29% of surveys printed were returned. This constitutes, in my experience, a well above average response rate. When asked to name the factors distracting from the quality of life in our community, the most common answers were traffic and the amount of residential development. Over many months, the steering committee worked diligently to prepare the draft comprehensive plan and the official map, which culminated in a public presentation to both the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission at the Planning Commission's meeting on July 6, 2022. The Board of Supervisors later adopted the comprehensive plan on October 6, 2022. Full text of the adopted 2022 comprehensive plan can be found on our website, and copies are available for the leadership at the dais this evening. Consistent with the purposes of the MPC, the map before you shows projected areas of community need for public purposes, including roads, trails, and open spaces. The draft is the culmination of many hours of work by township volunteers and consultants, and was developed at the same time and complements our comprehensive plan. Following public comment and deliberation, I respectfully ask the board to adopt Ordinance 1 of 2023, adopting this official map.
Mr. Chairman, we can now open it up to public comment.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Luke, thank you for the opportunity to speak and to address this issue with you.
Can you speak up a little
Yes,
or remove the microphone? I'm an old guy, it's hard to hear.
that's all right. I have the same problem. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I'm here on behalf of BVA and LNR, who are two property owners in the township. We applaud you for updating the plan, updating the comprehensive plan, and attempting to keep the township in the 21st century. I'm not here to oppose any of that, even if it were available to be opposed today. I'm here on behalf of my clients to object to the inclusion of what has euphemistically been called the connector road. I'm not going to go into the reasons why it was originally planned, whether those reasons are still valid with the two roads that have already been built connecting Route 322 and North Guthriesville Road. I've given you a letter, as the solicitor noted, listing a number of problems that I see with the road. Our request today is to beseech you to delete the connector road from the plan. That is all we ask you to do. I understand that the connector road is grade. It's shown as a proposed road. The problem lies in the statute. So let me talk about that very briefly. There are several points to that statute you should be aware of. Number one, the statute uniquely provides that it does not constitute a taking. I say that's unique because it's the only statute in Pennsylvania that addresses limitations on somebody's use of their property without compensation. Number two, this unique statute has only been interpreted once in its entire history. There's only one case that I can find addressing the statute. Number three, this interesting statute allows you to designate a proposed road or a future road, and then says that the owner of the property that is encompassed by that road cannot use that property, cannot change it, cannot alter it, can't do anything with it unless they come before you and ask for an exception. So that creates a very interesting scenario where it authorizes you to place limitations on someone's property without compensation. Leaving aside whether that violates the Pennsylvania Eminent Domain Code, I can assure you it violates federal law. And federal law specifically provides that where there's no compensation under state law, a condemnation act can be brought federally. If you look at this statute and you look at this proposal to include this road, this connector road, the question that comes to my mind very simply is why include it? Because there's one other provision in that section that's really critical to your action and really requires, in my opinion, humble opinion as it were, serious consideration. And that is that it provides that there's another way for a road to become a public road as part of your map. And that is if you approve a plat for that development, that plat, insofar as it shows a public road, automatically becomes part of your plan. So, let me ask you this, rhetorically. If you have a plan before you that Carlino has proposed for the development of the property that encompasses most of this road, then the question is, why not wait until that's resolved by the 7 court actions that are presently pending? Why proceed now to include it on the plan, your roadmap, when if it is ultimately approved by the courts, it being the development plan with that road on it, that road will then automatically become part of your map? Why do it now? Why, when PennDOT has yet to approve the HOP, when there's an action pending before the Board of Property, which, by the way, we did not bring, to determine whether or not, in fact, we own a portion of the land that you didn't condemn and that PennDOT says is absolutely necessary for the right turn lane. If PennDOT decides, if the Board of Property decides we own the land, as we have every reason to believe they will, it can't be built. So I submit to you, and all I ask you is to question yourselves, why? Why include it now when it can ultimately be resolved once the courts resolve the matter? And if the development's approved, it'll be in there. And finally, I just point out one other reason why you should not do this and exclude the road now, and that is that we have a settlement agreement between us. That settlement agreement will be violated by you if you include this. Don't do it. Please, I beg you. Neither of us needs more litigation. And this litigation is not covered by Carlino's MOU agreement, even assuming they're currently
You need
paying.
to wrap up. You're in the 7 minutes.
That's all I have to say. I ask you to remove it from the plan, and otherwise we have no objection. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one quick question. It's just a black line on a map, right? It's not an engineered or anything. And wasn't the same road included in our last official map of 2011?
The question is directed to me.
Yeah, I don't.
I'll answer the first question first. The GIS layers that constitute this map were created by the Brandywine Conservancy and TCA based on their information gathering through the process to develop the comprehensive land and the official map. In no location is the areas that are shown in dark gray and marked as proposed land or proposed road are those engineered. They just drew that on there with a pencil based on feedback from meetings. So those don't represent engineered configurations. The second part of that question is in reference to the existing 2011 map. There is a section of what we call the East Reesville Road extension that is over what is the Brandywine Walk development, which is deleted. However, the 2011 map did not show what we commonly call the connector road.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution.
It's actually to adopt or enact ordinance number
Is-
one.
Ordinance.
I think there might be additional public comment, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Thank you.
Can I go?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Good evening. My name is Julie Winters. I'm here tonight on behalf of Three Creeks LLC. We are the equitable owners of parcel 30-5-128, and we intend to develop this site, which permits up to 7 units per acre under the current zoning TND-2 overlay. This overlay was created to allow the neighboring parcel to change their approved plans of 12 estates to 95 townhomes. We are concerned your proposed adoption of the new official map will negatively impact our project by requiring us to include a roundabout or Reesville Road extension on our parcel as a condition of preliminary approval for our project. As you know, a sketch plan was submitted and reviewed during the June 5th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. Shortly after, our broker received an offer by agreement of sale from East Brandywine Township, which was rejected. I brought exhibits supporting our position, which I just handed to you guys for your review, relating to our letter requesting a hearing sent yesterday to the board and township manager. We would like to know if this is going to be the case as far as the Reesville Road extension being approved or contingent upon our project plans.
Well, I don't know whether you want me to respond.
Yeah, yes, I
Mr.
mean,
Chairman,
I'm
but
not,
would
I know
just
that you
briefly
made a
say-
presentation to the planning commission, but I've never seen any
Yeah,
project
I
plan.
mean, I don't know what you're asking exactly,
Right.
but this is an official map. It's authorized by Article 4 of the Municipalities Planning Code. It doesn't take your property. It's a line drawn on the official map as a potential future road.
It's my understanding, though,
The township or anyone can't take, acquire, or buy your property without giving you compensation.
okay, understood. However,
And you said something about a hearing. This is the hearing. It's in the nature of a legislative hearing. It's not a hearing where witnesses are called, people are sworn in. That's not what's required, and that's not what the township is going to do.
okay, well, I guess then my question is, how can there be a map of a road on property in which there was never discussions with the property owners?
The Revised Planning Code allows us to do that. There are other features. There are potential open space acquisitions. The township doesn't own those properties. There are other features shown on the official map that are owned by private individuals. In fact, all the ones that say future or potential are owned by private entities or individuals.
So, should I review the letter, for the record?
I made the letter part of the record. I read the letter. I'm a little puzzled why you cited Title 8, which is the Borough Code, but nonetheless, we made the letter part of the minutes. And we understand, I think the board understands your objections.
No. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
I know you said you submitted plans. I never saw the plans. I think you submitted something to the planning commission. Right? An informal. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, I didn't plan.
Yeah, 2019.
In 2019, which was approved.
It was not approved. I mean, I don't want to argue about the facts. My only position is, it's an official map. The township has an official map now. This is more or less an amendment to that official map to conform it to the new comprehensive plan. And that's all it is.
Okay, so then can I ask what the township's plan or actionable plan, if they plan to then move forward with developing this road on property?
We don't know what the plans are.
Right.
We don't have any.
We've been planning a bypass road for 25 years. We have no solid plans. We have.
Well, I will
So then
say-
why put it on the map now?
Then that's a proposed line drawn
Well,
for a route.
for purposes of accuracy, there is a plan pending with the township that got preliminary approval that has the effect of constructing part of this road that we're talking about.
On 2069, on,
No,
Yeah, that was up on the, plank
on
property.
the flank property. And right now, the township doesn't have any, there's nothing in motion to build the rest of that road.
okay, so in the future, if this is on the official map, prior to, there's no concern that Three Creeks LLC should have in regards to eminent domain or,
I can't say that.
In other words, the board could change in 5 years, and it could be a different board, and it could be 3 people that aren't up here, and maybe it's an item for them.
But either a negotiated sale or eminent domain is the only way. You own the land, you have the rights to the land.
well, I appreciate your time and thank you for, I'm not an attorney, so clearly,
Thank you.
thank you.
Fine job.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, I just want to state for the record, as the chair of the planning commission, that this is a planning document. The official map is a planning document that shows the desires, the potential desires of the township and to help guide our future. Just want to state that. It's a planning document.
Thank you. All right.
So it would be appropriate to entertain,
A motion?
yeah, a motion to enact ordinance number 1 of 20.
You've recused yourself, right?
Yeah, but I don't understand, what is the big deal about keeping the connector road off? If it, once the plan's recorded, it becomes automatically part of the official map, why don't we allow that process to happen? Not, invite more attention.
I can't answer that. It was a legal question. I remember it coming up in the ordinance task force that we're supposed to identify those things, not leave them off. But I see no harm. Again, it's a gray line with a future hope. It's not, neither one of them are a taking or a permanent thing, or neither one of them are engineered, neither one of them are close to any kind of reality. But we should at least identify what the planning group would like to happen in the next 10 years, if at all possible. That's why it's there. It's not a done deal. It's a planning thing.
Well, I don't want to, I just, if I may, just correct one thing. The road, the gray line that shows a road connecting North Guthrie'sville Road and Horseshoe Pike has been engineered.
Oh, it has. Okay. All right.
But, yeah, just correct, and then, Mr. Esty, yeah, my statement is that I did not provide the legal metes and bounds of the engineered road to the GIS consultant who produced this map. That's hand-drawn.
Yeah, I said a road.
Got it.
Can I ask one more question? So if we then, as equitable owners of 269 Bonds Road, if we came forth with an actual plan for approval in terms of the townhomes that we would like to build there, and you guys adopt this map this evening, and you look at the map and say, well, there's this proposed map, but we have to somehow build it into our project plans. Is there any sort of cause and effect there that we should know about?
I can't answer that question. I mean, you have the right to submit whatever plan you choose, and under the township ordinances. But I can't respond to your question about how the official map may affect it.
Okay, so in the past, when these situations have occurred and there's a township map and somebody, a farmer or somebody would like to develop their land, and there happens to be on an official township map a projected hope of having this connector road, or the extension, when the supervisors go to vote on a project, has it impacted their decisions in the past?
I would speak as a supervisor currently. Jason's been, I don't think we've ever had an issue where no.
I don't think it's ever come up recently.
You can prove one without a road on it.
Yeah, I don't think it's hurt or helped. I think it's just kind of.
Yeah, if I could just add to that and expand on what Supervisor Winters said. When I was summarizing the differences between the 2011 map and the draft 2022 map, I did mention that one segment had been omitted.
Right.
And the reason it had been omitted is because a development received final plan approval and did not include the road that was shown on the 2011 map. So there are precedents where the road was built per the plan and where the road was not built per the plan.
You understand what he?
Yes, I
Right.
understand.
The gray line disappeared.
I understand. I still have reservations, but I understand.
All right, is it, any other questions? Supervisor Scrivener?
I've done my research. I checked with solicitors.
All right, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 1 of 2023, repealing the 2011 official map of East Brandywine Township. And adopting the 2022 official map of East Brandywine Township and amending Chapter 329 of the Code of the Township of East Brandywine titled Official Map. Is there a second?
Second. I'm gonna stay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, item 9B, ordinance 2 of 2023.
This is another hearing that's required by the municipality's planning code, and in this case, the second class township code, that prior to enacting amendments to the subdivision or land development ordinance and the zoning ordinance, the board has to conduct a hearing. The proposed ordinance amends regulations applicable to off-street parking, primarily applicable to multifamily development. Notice of the hearing was advertised in the Daily Local News, and the ordinance was reviewed by the Chester County Planning Commission. The ordinance was initiated by the Board of Supervisors because of a shortage of common and guest parking areas in high-density developments. The ordinance was drafted by the Township Planning Commission and the Ordinance Task Force with assistance of township consultants. Townhouse and age-restricted dwellings will be required to provide 2 spaces per dwelling unit on the lot or adjacent to the dwelling, with a maximum of 1 space being provided in the garage. 1/2 space must also be provided for dwelling unit for guest or overflow parking, which shall not be located on the dwelling unit lot. The ordinance also increases the size of parallel parking spaces to 25 feet in length by 9 feet in width. Mr. Chairman, you can accept any public comment if there is any.
Is there any public comment on ordinance 2 of 2023 regarding parking? Seeing none, I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 2 of 2023, amending the Code of the Township of East Brandywine, Chapter 300, titled Land Use, Chapter 350, titled Subdivision and Land Development, and Chapter 399, titled Zoning, by amending regulations applicable to off-street parking. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any comment? I'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Public comment on non-agenda items. Notices, there's been no executive sessions have been held between the AM session on February 2nd, 2023, and the PM session on February 16th, 2023. And second, there will be an executive session meeting following this meeting to discuss personnel matters. Is there a movement for adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.